great to be back at the Cape St. Mary's performance series. This is my third one, but it's my first one with Daunt Lee here.
Hey, how you doing?
So we got a few songs for you. I got a recitation to do, some light stuff as usual. Gonna start with a true story. Is it true? No, it's not true at all. It's about a bat-infested cabin, if you must know.
Oh, it's got to be a true story at some point.
It's a true story to somebody. But anyway, if you're going to write a song about a bat-infested cabin, the very obvious title would be Bat Rooms. So that's it. And in fact, we are working on an album that's just finished and in its final stages, and Bat Rooms is going to be the first track on it, and it's going to be dandy. So here we go, our dry run. 2, 3. There's bats up in the ceiling, in bats of insulation. I can hear 'em in the evening, batting all around the rafters. And I'm going up there after supper now, 'cause I'm poisoned with the noise and all the mess they got made up there. I moved away when I was young and I worked up in the city. After several years had passed, it all came to a skid. So I moved back home and formed a one-man committee and moved up into the woods in a log cabin off the grid. I moved my belongings there and I got all settled, but the roof needed repair. Oh, it would leak for sure. Fixed it up as best I could with plywood and sheet metal, and in no time at all had a brand new roof on tour. But there's bats up in the ceiling, in bats of insulation. I can hear 'em in the evening, batting all around the rafters. And I'm going up there after supper now, 'cause I'm poisoned with the noise and all the mess they got made up there. When I lived in the city, it was always getaway more. Several hundred people lived in the building I was at. Now instead of living under several hundred neighbors, I lived under an attic space with several hundred bats. When I fixed up that roof, I didn't realize that they had chewed a hole somewhere up there in the eave. 'Cause it up in there, you know, they multiplied in size, for that pink insulation is a fine place to conceive. Bats up in the ceiling, in bats of insulation. I can hear 'em in the evening, batting all around the rafters. And I'm going up there after supper now, 'cause I'm poisoned with the noise and all the mess they got made up there. But I read that bats were in decline because the white nose syndrome was tearing through the country, so I'll put up with 'em now. And I'll make some little bat rooms with viewing holes into 'em, and I'll charge $10 a gander when the tourists come around. Since I never did find the spot where they were getting in and out, first or last through the gable or the roof, I'll put a sanctuary in the attic space instead, and no leg curtains on the ceiling down below for soundproof. And there'll be bats up in the ceiling, in bats of insulation. They'll be up there squealing, sure you know they'll be at it, batting all around the attic. But I won't hear 'em in that Newfoundland Batatarium, in the Newfoundland Batatarium. Here we go. Bat Rooms. All right. Let's see. Have we got any other animal songs? Biology things? I don't believe we do.
Oh,
No, we don't.
nothing about Muskrat Falls.
No muskrat in this set. Oh, coincidentally, Caitlin. Now this is a true story, in fact. This is a very true story about, not to give too much away, somebody I know was supposed to look after a house for the summer. Didn't. As a result, a tray of Caitlin that was left out by accident sort of was a worse problem than the bat-infested attic. Because a housefly infected house is the next worst thing. Anyway, so this is a story about that. It's called Caitlin Left Out. There have been many examples of me being scatterbrained, but listen to what I did before we boarded on a plane. We left on a Friday night, was traveling by air. It was a trip to Edmonton, my sister was up there. I had the gear all packed up for the 2 weeks we'd be gone. I locked the door and hid the key from my young fella John. To mind the house when I was away, so I locked the doors. Forgot I left the tray of capelin on the basement floor. A few days later John came in to notice something off. A smell was in the air inside the house, it made him cough. He left the windows open, then when he checked back in a few days, the smell that was in the house was worsening. In fact, when he pulled in the driveway and got out of the car, the maple trees outside the windows he had left ajar were falling down as if to say, I can't take this no more. Someone must have left the tray of capelin on the basement floor. So he went in the back door. When he went inside, the smell that was in the air before was 10 times amplified. Plants were almost to the door, the flower pots they dragged across the floor, but it was buckled up, oh, and all the carpet shagged. Bulbs were melted from the pot lights hanging from the ceiling, pictures falling off the walls, all the paint was peeling. When he went down over the stairs and started to explore, he found there was a tray of capelin on the basement floor. So he went in the room and started to evaluate. He was responsible for this and he couldn't wait. Should he remove the tray somehow and wipe the basement floor down, or should he leave it where it is to get out and beat it out of town? Scooping up the tray, it wasn't so easy as it sounds, 'cause there were several hundred flies buzzing all around. Johnny boy got lovin', the flies he did ignore, attracted to the tray of capelin on the basement floor. From this point on, the story's too disgusting to repeat. Now I'm not the most beloved person living on this street. We'll never know how Johnny got that capelin out of the house. He must have covered his face and held his breath because it was some Fausty. And in any case, the house it didn't rot and crumble down, although it is one of the most avoided ones in town. Every second day, the house is laddered up and rinsed, and has been wrapped in plastic and tarpaulin ever since. Nobody's gonna buy it now, I'm stuck with this chore, because I left a tray of capelin on the basement floor. There you go. 2 disgusting stories. Actually, no, there's nothing disgusting about pets. Okay, gonna do one about a true story that happened to our Minister of Health.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Here we go. This is called Doctor's Order, based on what Dr. John Hagee said what seems like ages ago. The infamous or the famous shopping cart licking bit that started the whole Dr. Hagee fame. Anyway, yeah, that felt like years ago, but it was only a couple of months ago. Anyway, Doctor's Order starts how?
The song was written on the same day that he said that.
Probably. I'm the one that licking shopping carts, I hate to say, is what a fellow said to me from 3 meters away. They didn't mention me by name, he said, but I think maybe someone caught me in the act and spoke to Dr. Hagee every afternoon. The Premier and the Chief Medical Officer, Dr. Janice Fitzgerald, will brief us with the Minister of Health. Dr. Hagee is his name. Dr. Hagee made a plea and Buddy was to blame. He told the parents not to let their sitting youngsters lick the handles on the shopping cart with germs microscopic. Although we single children out, I guess that it applies to everybody, even if their mouth is sanitized. I'm the one out licking shopping carts, I hate to say, is what a fellow said to me from 3 meters away. They didn't mention me by name, he said, but I think maybe someone caught me in the act and spoke to Dr. Hagee Here is the whole story, he said, in case you got to know. I was down in bakery, sales are on the go. I got a tray of peanut butter balls, small and round, brought in just that morning from out in Charlottetown. I was in a hurry to get in and out right fast. I had to make room for dessert because I got it last. I tucked a tray under my chin and sadly one fell out. It nearly landed on the handle, but I caught it with me mouth. I'm the one out licking shopping carts, I hate to say, is what a fellow said to me from 3 meters away. They didn't mention me by name, he said, but I think maybe someone caught me in the act and spoke to Dr. Haggy. That was Monday past, I saw that man today. He told me his confession was a foolish thing to say. I wasn't licking shopping carts, I'm only carrying on. Sure, I've been right here in my social distance all along. He wasn't licking shopping carts, and that I'm proud to say. I suppose he only made it up to lighten up my day. But if you really have to go out now to pick up milk or bread, please keep in mind what Doctors Haggy and Fitzgerald said. Well, if you can't laugh at least comments. What can you laugh at? This is a recitation now, a spoken word piece born out of another comment. Well, a word that we've become all too familiar with. Bubbles. Personal bubbles, Atlantic bubbles, this work bubbles, this bubble and that bubble. So here it is. A story that hopefully won't turn into something true. It's about government-produced independent bubbles called Inside Your Bubble. They're making personal bubbles now, ones that can adjust to meet your height requirement and the 6-foot radius. It's like a giant see-through can, 12 feet across. The government is making them and selling them at cost. Our premier likes to plan for when people got to go to town, manufactured bubbles to get inside to go around. When stay inside your bubble, he said on the internet and TV, us the viewers didn't realize he meant it literally. There was a warehouse closing up, the lights were off, the doors were shutting, the premier signed a 6-month lease and then he streamed a ribbon cutting. The cost of all these bubbles, he said, it would be minor. Some materials were donated and their stuff just liner. Some were made from alder trees with roofing tar and glue. Others made from tent poles, I don't know where they got those to. Some were reinforced with plastic cut-off salt beef bucket rings, strung together with tie wraps, picture wire, and piece of strings. Rubber gloves were on the front to handle carts in grocery stores, shower curtain hooks to haul the bubble off when back indoors. Strong enough to handle high winds, nice and light to carry far, so the actual bubble was 10 mil vapor barrier. It's an unprecedented measurement, our full height and 6 feet around, but we'll get used to wearing them and not to run aground. When walking through a tight spot like in Oz in grocery stores, I hope that we can find a way to fit these bubbles through the doors. Now that we all got our bubbles, sure we can protect ourselves. We can stay 6 feet away, and if we all wear bubbles, 12. When all this is over, when we bring it to a close, what will we do with all these bubbles? Wear them in the rain, I suppose. They're making personal bubbles now, ones that can adjust to meet your height requirement and the 6-foot radius. It's like a giant see-through can, one big 12-foot ring, so we can stock up on our goods while social distancing.
I like it. Yeah, good one.
There we go. Okay. So I did some research. I was asked to play for the City of St. John's a commemoration for the Great Fire. Couldn't find any songs about the Great Fire. So went and read a book and and here we are. So it's called 1892, naturally, about the fire of 1892. Yeah,
Okay.
that's it. What is our little thing? Okay, yeah. 1, 2, 3. It was a dry and windy day, July in 1892. Firefighter volunteers trying their best to make do with very few resources for them in those devastating days. The scattered city landscape was altered in so many ways. On Freshwater Road at Timothy O'Brien's farm it started, but at the top of Long's Hill, like two brigades, the fire parted. Buildings dry and winds were up, supply of water very low. It was a bad day for a fire, but hours before they would know. Pipes in downtown being replaced, so water was shut off that day. A poor coincidence, as if a sabotage was underway. A backup tank was drained that week and not refilled, was almost dry. Flankers knocking rows of houses with the downtown standing by. They tried to pull down houses for a fire break, but they were cursed. The ropes they had and tried to use all tattered, they began to burst. When the steam engine that they finally got in place, they learned in tragic irony the fire required to run it would not burn. With soaking blankets on their roof and other desperate efforts searched to save their homes, but some took refuge to the Grand Anglican Church, thinking that the walls of stone would grant to them a safer place. But the crashing waves of flames proved this was not the case. The lead that held the stained glass melted, and the glass itself soon after. Now the flames could reach inside, tormenting all the wooden rafters. Molded arches could not stand up on their own, with burned out caps, and on the makeshift storage hole the great cathedral roof collapsed. The blaze continued through the night as heavy smoke replaced the air, till its destruction ended in the dark and morning atmosphere. A bleak survey of blackened chimneys left a mark, a home's address. Reverend Moses Harvey called it ghastly in its nakedness. In the coming days and weeks, a wandering in rubble shock, bricks and stone that remained were gathered up, and hammers knocked together, sticks of lumber that from far and wide were sent this way to build a city more prepared to fight a fire another day. To build a city more prepared to fight a fire another day. Okay,
Now,
gonna finish with a parody of sorts. That's the funny thing, if it's pop music, you can call it parodies. If it's folk music, you can call it folk music. I took the tune of The Rocky Road to Dublin and changed it to The Rocky Road to Lumsden, which has nothing to do with the road to Lumsden. The road to Lumsden is quite beautiful. The town of Lumsden is also quite beautiful. The beaches are unprecedented in the world.
I've still got sand in my toes.
Actually, a buddy of mine is down there today. So anyway, it's The Rocky Road to Lumsden, but not to be confused with the actual road to Lumsden, which is just kind of,
Roadish.
a little bit of bumpish at times. But overall, a good road. Okay, we're going to finish off with a parody of sorts. Although, if it's pop music, when you take a tune and change the lyrics, it's a parody, but in folk music, it's just called folk music. So here's another new folk song of sorts. It's to the tune of The Rocky Road to Dublin. This is The Rocky Road to Lumsden. And thanks again to the Cape St. Mary's performance series. I hope you're back again next year. Yeah. And a dreary afternoon after Sunday morning church in Rashun, me and the boys were starting talking about what we had to do around the house and what was not working right. We found we had to get away the next Saturday. There was a wide array of things that we could bum and hit the road to go. Never mind the snow with the camper in tow on the rocky road. The Lumsden 5:15 run through Hare Bay and down the rocky road in Bonavista Bay with Mike Malone and Rob. We left Rashun at 2, all excited, and we gathered up the food and the frying pan and piling up the gear, load her in the van, and that's the time of the year when we knows we can get out up in the woods. We said we should be sure to put up our hoods for when we're going in under all the boughs in the winter now. All the snow down our necks sure will be frozen, that won't be nice. Run through Hare Bay and down the rocky road in Bonavista Bay with Mike Malone and Rob. In Lumsden town we reached, and Robbie's cousin owns a cabin on the beach. And now it wasn't known, we thought there was no food, but it was a fallacy. Robbie found a stew in a meat locality and some tout and dough. So then you know, a fire on the go on the beach, and then we could have stayed inside. We were satisfied but quickly petrified when we spied a bear 400 pounds or 5 run through Hare Bay and down the rocky road in Bonavista Bay with Mike Malone and Rob. Oh, the boys woke up the bear, all sedated, and he came out of his lair, irritated as the pot began to bawl. We didn't know what to do when supper now was spoiled, 'cause he ate the stew, but he wasn't done, so we turned to run. That was pretty stunned, but it didn't matter. We was hard afore, couldn't go no more. Stayed down on the shore on the Betty Catters for to stay alive. Run through Hare Bay and down the rocky road in Bonavista Bay with Mike Malone and Rob. The kids got out of school and they saw us there like a pack of fools cornered by the bear. We thought they'd help us quick, but they got their cameras out and put the pictures up on Instagram. The bear went back to bed. We could have fled, but we figured instead we'd go and get some things, because it was some nice looking out over the ice without our devices here until the spring. May the 25 run through Hare Bay and down the rocky road in Bonavista Bay with Mike Malone and Rob. Daunt Lee.
Dave Penny.
Thank you very much. See you next time. Yeah.
Hello, I'm Carole Bestvater, and this is Markus Räsänen, and we are going to play some tunes for you. Thank you to the Cape St. Mary's Performance Series for having us, and we'll talk a little bit more later, but first of all, this is Pierre Schreier's request. Thank you. That was Pierre Schreier's request, written by Duncan Cameron. Next, we're going to play something by you.
Yeah, it's a tune called Stockholm that was composed by me when I lived over in the capital Sweden for 8 years and tried to gather all the little things that happened all the time and had to put some sounds for almost being standby all the time. So here comes Stockholm.
What a lovely tune. Next, we're going to play a Newfoundland standard. This is a reel written by Emile Benoit called Bridget's Reel. Yes, that was Bridget's Reel by Emile Benoit, a favorite Newfoundland tune. Next we're going to play a waltz that I wrote.
Yeah.
And it still does not have a name. I'm waiting for the right name to come to me. So this is a waltz in G minor. We have one more set for you. This is a set of 3 Transylvanian tunes.
Yeah. It's 3 tunes. Where the first one is a very slow one, which is actually a song that's sang by parents on a wedding for their kids, and when they grow up, and they kind of sing about the little loss when the son or the daughter is married to another village. And the next one is a Transylvanian man's dance, which is called Kalotátegi Legényes for those who speak Magyar. And then we end up with an all-time favorite Csardas from the same area, Kalotátegi. Thank you for having us.
Yes, thank you for having us.